All right, everybody, welcome to the January 8th Micromobility Committee meeting. We are going to go ahead and get started. Can everyone see a big tree with beautiful leaves as our opening slide right now?
We can see it,
All
Tyler.
right, excellent. Good to hear. I've also started a recording of this meeting that'll be available afterwards as well. I got a tree in the fall because, we're looking back on the fall, but also kind of looking back on the whole last year of our dockless vehicle program here in Baltimore City. So really it's just going to be a end of year statistics wrap up. We're going to talk about 311 implementation a little bit, and then we'll have our presentations from John from Spin and from Erica from Lime. And then we'll wrap things up.
Come on.
So without further ado, we'll get started. All right, well, that's the slide for what I was just describing. Here's what we're talking about today. Again, this is from our last meeting, just reiterating the program goals. We're looking to set clear expectations for the operators. We're looking to grow and standardize the access program across the city so that lower income folks are able to use the system to get around. We're looking to ensure the entire fleet of vehicles are safe and operable. Trying to provide transportation alternatives to the entire city of Baltimore. We are checking for compliance regarding the fleet condition, where the vehicles are located, and issue response times, which is what the 311 effort was working toward. Also trying to ensure the scooters and bikes are viable solutions where gaps exist in public transit. I think John has some slides on that happening in the system over the past few years. And also working with the stakeholders like you to address concerns about the program. You all won't be seeing my face today, by the way. My computer believes it does not have a camera, but since I'm presenting, not really a big issue. So, last year's statistics, we had 1.6 million total trips in the system, which is, I believe, a new record. John has more on that actually in his presentation. 1.5 million scooter trips, over 100,000 e-bike trips. I think we can expect the e-bike trip number to go up as the number of bikes on the ground will be larger in the next calendar year. Total distance traveled is 1.7 million miles. The total duration of the trips is over 17 million minutes, average trip distance at 1.11 miles. And you all can see the rest there. About 10-minute average trip duration, significant savings on the CO2. So definitely encouraging to see more people using the system over the past year. That's something that's really exciting for us. And we're very thankful to both of our operators, Spin and Lime, for helping make that happen. Seeing the program succeeding like this is definitely what we want to see. So this is the average vehicles on the ground. As we saw in the last meeting, of course, a big jump in the numbers happening around the time of introduction of Lime as a new operator because they brought, additional vehicles to the market. So you saw a big spike in the vehicles on the ground and a very significant spike in the number of e-bikes available on the ground. Right, the average on ground was almost 3,000 for the scooters and close to 400 for the e-bikes over the course of the year. Ridership, our heaviest ridership months were September and October. In fact, those are in the top 10 highest ridership months of the entire program. October was huge for us, and you can see, the big spike in the scooter rides happening then, also significantly high bike rides happening during that time. Yep. Utilization, that's sort of how frequently the vehicles are being used. We have an average last year of 1.36 for the scooters, so they're averaging over a ride per day, and 0.61 for the e-bikes. We'd like to see both of those numbers go up, and that should be happening as more people get used to using the system and get in a place where they're able to rely on the system to get around. something to that point, during the big snow event that we had 2 days ago, we still had over 700 rides happening out there. So clearly there's a lot of people that are relying on the system to get crucial, things done in their life. So that's encouraging to see as well. Okay, so as of early December, we now are able to accommodate calls to the city's 311 system to report a scooter or an e-bike that is not properly parked. I'm calling it misparked. I don't know if I don't think I did not come up with that, but it's not really a word. It gets autocorrect is going to flag it if you type that out. But I wanted a quicker way to refer to them as instead of poorly parked or in the wrong spot. But basically, we're talking about a scooter that is, for example, blocking a curb cut, or completely blocking the sidewalk where there isn't, 3 or 4 feet to get around it. Citizens that want the scooter company to come and address that are now able to call 311. In the past, the only way to get these addressed by the scooter company was to call them directly, which, a lot of folks aren't familiar with how to go about doing that. 311 is something that a lot of residents already use to report issues going on in the city and requesting city services. So this was just a natural place for folks to be able to report issues with dockless vehicles. And we are encouraging anyone who's not just calling it in, if you're using a 311 app, please take a photo of the scooter in question. That can really help our operators determine the nature of the issue. Sometimes it's not the right operator. You might be looking at a Link scooter, which neither of these companies is responsible for. That's the city's responsibility to pick up. So I do encourage everyone to be using this as helpfully as possible for our operators, and including photos is a really good way to do that. So this is an actual service request. I've redacted the names of the individuals involved, but this came in for a Lime scooters, and the operators at 311 know how to talk to the caller to identify which operator we're talking about. They know to, encourage them, hey, if there's an orange scooter, we're talking about Spin. If it's a green scooter, we're talking about Lime. So this was 2 Lime scooters. The call came in at 9 o'clock exactly, and Lime was able to get their team on site in about 90 minutes, and they were able to report the work done in under 2 hours, which is pretty typical for what we're seeing in terms of all the tickets coming in so far. We're seeing a really good job at both operators of not only getting out there and addressing the issue quickly, but also closing the ticket quickly. So we appreciate that, and I think it's working pretty well so far. Overall, we've got 90 service requests that have been initiated and completed since December 9th. On the right, you've got 2 photos of examples of, vehicles blocking access. Both operators, like I mentioned, have been closing it out within the 24-hour window, and they're also letting the city know if it's a Link scooter in question, as the city is still collecting those. Just a review on where our operators are in terms of their fleets. Spin's got almost 3,000 scooters out there, and typically 150 bikes. Lime has got 1,500 scooters out there and 500 e-bikes right now. So now is the time for our operators to give their presentations. We're going to start with John Langford from Spin, and then he's going to hand it off to Erica Duffley from Lime. So John, just let me know when to go to the next slide and take it away.
Thanks so much, Tyler. Good to go. Again, John Langford, I'm a senior director on the government partnerships team at Spin. Really glad to be here today. And thanks, Tyler, for the presentation. Looking back on 2024, we are very excited about the growth we saw in Baltimore, and we are even more excited about 2025. So go ahead to the next slide. Really kind of short and sweet today. Wanted to do a 2024 recap and compare that to 2023 and just give some high level numbers on that. And then do a little bit deeper of a dive on what we think of is not only the growth of ridership in Baltimore, but the equitable growth and some of the programmatic elements and things we've done to make sure that the program goes in that way. You can go ahead to the next slide. So I will say, not on here, which was sort of a glaring error on my side, was the 311 integration. So I will start there and just echo what Tyler said. We're really excited to have gotten integrated with 311. We worked closely with the city and with Lime to make sure that basically it makes it easier for residents to get requests in. It makes it easier for us to be responsive. So Brandon Day, Grant Sutton on our team have put in the time to make that happen on our side, and we're really excited to sort of bring that to the program. Let me. The slide's a little small for me, so let me try to just blow it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so thinking back on 2024, the first sort of high-level bullet was we were really excited to see that overall ridership across all operators grew by close to 20%. So in 2023, we saw like 1.3 million trips. That's up to 1.6 million trips in 2024. And I think this is just sort of my personal prediction, but I think that will continue to grow, especially based on some of the Q4 numbers that we saw, and that there's a good chance we'll see over 2 million trips in Baltimore in 2025. And then looking at Spin's ridership in Baltimore, we are particularly excited that our ridership grew even more than that. So we saw 60% year-over-year growth. At 2023, we were at, a little over 500,000 trips. And we more than doubled that. In December, we passed the 1 million trip mark, which we are really excited about that. And I think just from our side, what I would call out there is we've been operating in Baltimore for, I think, 5+ years now. And it's really been over that time that we've built relationships with the riders and grown that over time. And to see that kind of growth really come to fruition in 2024 is really excited. Especially when we think of the fact that we know that a third of those trips will have replaced a car trip. So we're talking about meaningful mode shift here. Third thing on here is not only did the number of raw trips increase, but the actual utilization of the vehicles in terms of the number of times every one of those scooters is being ridden also went up. So in 2024, across the entire year, we were over 1.5 trips per day, which compares to about 1 trip per day in 2023. And then in the peak months, we were up over 2 trips per vehicle per day in July. And in June, up even higher to that, like 2.36. So very excited. And then want to give a shout out again to the local team, Grant Sutton in particular on our team, who was out in the community. I think we did over 40 events during 2024. Those are events focused on, safety, our Spin Access program, and just sort of, letting folks know we're here. Next slide. Okay, so the little bit of a deeper dive here, I titled this slide "A Recipe for Equitable Growth in Baltimore." So, if the last slide we wanted to point out that, ridership in Baltimore is growing, I think the thing we're most excited about it is that it's not just growing in the downtown, central core of the city. And a month or so ago, Tyler Smith, actually on one of our regular weekly calls, actually pointed out these maps to me in Populous, comparing the difference between 2019 ridership and 2024 ridership. So if you look at the two images on the right of the slide, the one on the top is from 2019, and the dark shading, that purple, are routes, like streets, where you're seeing more than 12 trips on a scooter or a bike on that route on a daily basis. And I was actually talking to Jed Weeks at Bike More yesterday, and his first reaction to seeing the slide was, "Oh, that's the white L," which I understand is like something that's been referred to in Baltimore. Is that part of the downtown area that has predominantly been wealthier, whiter populations, and that was mirrored very much in this ridership. Um, as we look to 2024 now, and you look at the number of purple routes of 12 or more trips on a street, on the bottom graph, you see it's just like really expanded out. And it looks pretty steady as you move out from that central downtown area. And that really had us think about like what are the things that we've done on the operator side, and what are the ways that we can help sort of support this goal of equitable growth. And wanted to recap these, and we'll have a case study and blog post up on our website soon, if anybody's interested. But there's a few key components. The first is that our Spin Access enrollment program offers fully subsidized trips to anybody who's enrolled in the program. In 2024, we had over 2,000 active members in that program, which is a number we want to see grow. We want to continue to see that grow. And one of the ways we're doing that is through the implementation of our access zones. And the difference between the enrollment program and the access zone is an access zone is where a trip will be automatically discounted whether or not you've actually enrolled in the program. And we set up access zones. I think there's 30 of them or so around the city. And we saw that close to 4,500 riders took a trip between March and December. So more than double the number of riders that we have enrolled in the access program are taking trips out of the access zones. And when they take a trip out of that access zone, then we send a targeted message and say, hey, you should check out and see if you're eligible for our enrollment program for trips that are even more discounted. So putting those two things together was sort of the first two pieces of this. And then the third piece is, along with Lime, we started working with Bike More. Jed and Omar, who I think is on the call, is an organizer for Bike More, and is specifically working to help us enroll folks into our access programs. So that is really getting started in earnest in January of this year. And we are starting to, what we've done is sort of set it up so that Bike More can actually verify eligibility for our low income program, and you don't have to come on to our website and do it, but rather they can sort of be a partner out in the community. So we're really excited about that. Yesterday, when we were sort of talking about Q1 of this year, the new component that we introduced is that in addition to enrolling folks in Spin Access, we're rolling out a Ride Winter campaign, which is going to be, giving out gloves and ear warmers to encourage folks to take advantage of active transportation year round. Since I think the bike commuters among us know that, riding in the winter can be one of the best times of the year to bike or scoot. So the last point I'll make on this is that, again, thanks to the local team, what sort of made all of this possible is the 5+ years operating in the city and the strong compliance that has made that possible. So, being responsive to complaints when they come in, making sure vehicles are deployed where they're supposed to be, and all of the regulatory components that BCDOT has in place. I will stop there. I think that's the end for me. Thanks a lot for giving me the chance to present.
Thank you, John. Next up is Erica Duffley with Lime.
All good. Hello, everyone. Good morning. For those who don't know me, my name is Erica Duffley. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Mid-Atlantic region here at Lyme. I'm excited to share a brief update on our Q4 ridership and essentially what is Lyme's first 6 months in the market after relaunch, as well as an exciting new hardware feature for 2025. I also want to mention, along the lines of John, I did not include this in my presentation, but we're also appreciative for the work done on the 311 integration project. As Tyler mentioned earlier, it's sometimes difficult for non-riders to know how to reach us. It's, one of the gaps we're constantly working on how to engage with those who don't engage with our product. This makes that connection, much easier. So we believe this will go a long way in sort of reducing tensions and improving community sentiment around the program. So next slide, please. As you can see, we continue to experience strong ridership in October and November before sort of the unsurprising drop off in December. Even in spite of the colder weather, we continued to see solid ridership throughout December, largely due to us having some milder days, which is common in the Mid-Atlantic, and Ravens games. Game days were big ridership boosts for us, and I'm sure Spin saw the same. We don't anticipate being quite so lucky in January, considering having a significant snow event and potentially more snow events to come. Um, but in our first 6 months, riders have taken over 600,000 trips, including over 85,000 trips on our e-bikes. I want to echo what John said earlier. I absolutely think we'll see continued growth for the program overall in 2025, and I'm really excited to see us hit and surpass possibly that 2 million trip mark for the year. This brings me to an exciting new feature I'd like to share that we are rolling out, that we've been working on in Q4, but rolling out for 2025. So next slide, please. Oh, it's already there. Okay. So this past quarter, we have retrofitted our bikes with a new throttle feature. It's easy to use, very similar to the throttles on our scooters, but it allows riders to start from a complete stop, making riding up steep hills, traveling longer distances that much easier. By giving riders the option to travel without pedaling, the throttle will help riders looking for a smoother commute, particularly during these hot and humid summers. For those who are taking longer trips or those with some mobility limitations. In the pilot phase, we saw that the throttle increased utilization by as much as 30%. So our hope is that by introduction of this new feature, it will encourage even more riders to opt for micromobility, to opt for e-bikes as a transportation option, and support the continued growth and strength of the program. And that is it from me.
Thank you, Erica. Really excited. I'm very excited about these Lime bikes with the throttles and the usage that they're getting out there. And big thanks to Spin on their efforts on equity. I think that's really encouraging stuff. And I wish I could take credit for things that happened 3 years ago. But it, it's really great. And I also want to thank both operators for their patience working with the city on getting the 311 set up. Um, it it was a interesting process, and I learned a lot, and we really appreciate all the hard work on that. So, all right, we are getting toward wrapping up. We will have plenty of time for questions. I do want to recognize we are losing a big asset. Caitlin Schaefer is moving on to the Department of Transportation for the City of Atlanta. But Caitlin has been holding things down here for 3.5 years as a consultant from Kittleson, absolutely killing it, writing SOPs and rubrics and overseeing the introduction of a new operator. Caitlin trained me very well, I think, and also worked very hard on advancing the Towards Zero program. So big thanks to Caitlin. I don't think she's on the call. I think she's literally in the process of moving her life to Atlanta. But we really appreciate all the hard work that she did, and going to be missing her. So thank you, Caitlin. And then looking forward, we'll be doing our writers survey coming up, and we'll have our next quarterly meeting on April 9th. And at this stage, I would be happy to open up the floor for any questions. I know that Ellen mentioned that she has a question.
Okay, hi,
Hi.
it's Ellen here. I have a few comments, and then I want to know what you can do about some of these problems. I'm going to move away. You're doing great at micromobility, but I want to talk about that map that you had in the first couple of slides regarding the usage area. Yeah, right there. Okay. Um, Please take a long look at that and notice that you have sort of a blue line going up to Harford on Harford Road, and you move over to the east over there where we have Belair Road, and you've put your um, scale right on top of Belair Road. Why did you do that? Because nobody's using micromobility on Belair Road. Belair Road is important to me because in November we had deaths, three road deaths on Belair Road. And I think it was like two pedestrians, one passenger in a car, or something like that. So I took a dive on Belair Road and found that Belair Road only had one red light camera and two temporary speed cameras, no permanent speed cameras. And then I learned from everybody in Baltimore that everybody, quote unquote, shreds on Belair Road. So the issue here is we have, no enforcement on Belair Road, probably a speed limit that's way too high. And then, of course, I don't think there's any bike lanes out there. Jed could probably tell me yes or no. Um, we've got no usage, no pedestrian usage, no micro mobility usage, no bike usage on Belair Road, and that has caused an increase in road deaths. And then a few days ago, we had another death up there in on Northern Parkway, and you kind of see in the same area, same thing. No micro mobility usage, no bike lanes, same thing. All this stuff that you're doing, it works in conjunction with a lot of other things, which is bike lanes and then road safety for pedestrians, etc. So I want to know what we're going to do regarding Belair Road and some of these other locations to get more. If we have more micro mobility usage, it will slow the cars down, slow the drivers down. This is really important. So can somebody comment on what we're going to do in the future to kind of make places like Belair Road and West Northern Parkway more hospitable to all of this, to micromobility?
Thanks for your question and comments, Ellen. I'm going to let Brett Thorne answer that, but I do want to point out that the map that you are seeing with the heat map, you are able to access that from our BCDOT Dockless Vehicle Program website. So if you would like to go look at any part of the city, you can actually navigate on that map. But I'm going to let Brett handle answering your question.
Thanks, Tyler. And yeah, thanks for the question, Ellen. It's a good one. Just for full disclosure, Tyler and I work on, micromobility and transit, and the question of what's going to happen with bike lanes on Belair Road, or what the road design is going to look like, is kind of more of a traffic engineering question. I can say I'm aware that Belair Road is a big focus right now because of the reasons that you listed. I'm not sure exactly what the plans are, but it's an area that obviously is being looked at really closely right now for what can be done to kind of improve the safety situation there. But unfortunately, I don't think Tyler or I can speak to, what our traffic engineering group is considering at this point for that.
Well, I just want to make it abundantly clear to both Lime and Spin that there's some money being left on the table. It'd have even more usage if that area of town, um, could be made hospitable for micro mobility devices.
Heard. I believe we've got Jed has his hand raised.
Thanks, Heather. It is, looking at just speaking of Belair Road, looking at the map here, I mean, I think Alan makes a good point that, so Belair Road is present on this map. You can sort of see Lake Montebello, and Harford Road is actually the one that has sort of less color on it. I think the area that has the separated bike lanes on both sides of the street is outside of the map on Harford, so you can't really see the dark color up there. But Belair Road, sort of east of Clifton Park on this map, actually does have a lot of ridership, and I think, to Ellen's point, that really dark purple there is right around the food depot, and sort of people are riding basically on Belair Road with no facilities, and on Edison Highway there, just to the east, to get probably to the grocery store and to that shopping center there. And so again, I think it's important that we consider, adopted city plans that call for infrastructure on places like that, to ensure that riders that are currently using those dangerous streets today are better protected.
Thank you, Jed. Yeah,
Sorry, Tyler, can I just jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
From the Spin side, thank you for flagging Ellen. What I can say is, I think one of the things we're excited about as the micromobility industry evolves is how our industry can sort of get closer to some of the advocacy efforts, because we have these constituencies of riders in cities. And obviously we want everybody to be safe, just because, that's important. We care about that. But to your point, it's also great for business when there are safer places to ride and more people are riding. So, I'm not super familiar with the specifics around Belair, but one thing we would be really excited to is if there are protected bike lane projects or bike infrastructure projects where our rider base can help be advocates for that. We would be really excited to help mobilize that rider base and can reach them easily through in-app messages, and things like that. So that's something we're excited about. I think particularly in Baltimore, where we have such a strong partnership with the city, and real mission alignment. And hopefully we can push on some of that stuff together.
One more comment. I'm looking at this map that you have up there, and it's not all of Baltimore. You're missing Curtis Bay. You're missing that whole north part of Baltimore. If you want to print a map showing shared mobility usage, I want to see all of Baltimore. So, I really, next time you do this, maybe make a couple of more maps so we can actually see the entire city.
Excellent note, Ellen. I will definitely look to do that. And as I hope you can see in the chat, Meg Young has dropped a link to that map. So if you want to see whatever you would like to see, you are able to do so yourself as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? Going.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Hey, Viola. Welcome.
Hey, this is Viola Willems from the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. I was just wondering, I know in the past, some of the vendors had offered more accessible vehicle rental options, including a trike type vehicle, and there was another one that was kind of a wheelchair attachment. Are any of the vendors currently offering options like that?
So Lime is offering seated scooters, and with the introduction of the throttles, on the e-bikes, we now have an e-bike that does not have to be pedaled. But to your specific question in terms of like the trike or the wheelchair chair attachment, they are not currently available in the market.
Is there any effort to make them available, or were they discontinued for lack of utilization? Is there any insight into that?
I'm not actually aware of them being present on the street in the past, but I've only been working this position for about 5 months. Is there anyone else that recalls that, or either of our operators have anything to say about that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I can
weren't.
jump.
Oh,
Oh, I don't know who's speaking. Sorry.
I was
I
just
can.
going to say they weren't casually present on the street. They were items that you could specifically request through the providers on a, you know, as needed basis.
Correct. We are happy. We have them available in the region, so we're happy to, if that is an option that Baltimore would like to see, we're happy to include that in Baltimore as well. Where the way it worked at Lyme, and I'm sure it functions similarly at Spin, is that if somebody wanted to request use of the trike or the wheelchair attachment, they would call. We'd make the rental available for 24 hours. We would deliver and pick up for no cost, and that is how that works. So happy to work with Tyler and the city to make that option available if you all are interested.
And same goes for Spin. We call it like our library model. And we're happy to work with you to get that set up. I think the thing that does make a big difference is like if we have in terms of utilization, which is obviously the ultimate goal, is if we have like a strong community partner who wants to help us spread the word. And then we're happy to be a part of that.
Well, thank you so much for raising that topic. I think we have something we've identified to work on in terms of promoting information about that program.
Thank you all.
Would anyone else like to say anything?
Tyler, I just plug, we do have Omar on the line, and if there are, other folks from the city or community partners, on the line that have populations that would likely qualify for the access programs, Omar is very happy to come out and, take any opportunity that exists to get people signed up, direct enrolled.
Thank you, Jed. We're super excited to have Omar out there working on that as a big asset for the city and something that's going to help us advance even further the equity of the program. Anybody else? I don't see any hands raised. All right. If not, I'll give you back 17 minutes. Oh, Meg Young. Go ahead, Meg.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? My name's Meg. I'm with the Maryland Department of Transportation, but also used to work at Baltimore City on this program. So I was just putting some comments in the chat about adaptive vehicles and thought I could probably just say it out loud faster. The most active adaptive program that we had previously in Baltimore was with Super Pedestrian while they were still in the market. And saw Viola asked about utilization. They did present at a few of the dockless meetings, probably back in 2022. But they advertised with some senior rec centers and worked with the league for, now they're just called the league out on Cold Spring, who works with people with disabilities, and think we're averaging not a ton of rentals, but the testimonies from people who use those vehicles was always very powerful. And they would set up a monthly day at Lake Montebello for people to come and try out the adaptive vehicles as well. So there should be, I think, back in the archives, a little bit of information about that program and how it was used.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, on that. I see Brett and Ellen still have hands raised. Was that from before, or did you all have something else to say now?
That was from before. Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. Anyone else have anything to say? Questions, comments, concerns? Prophecy? No? All right. Thank you everyone for attending, and we'll talk to you again in April.
Thanks, Tyler. Bye, everyone.